Hello my dear amazing learners, I am Nishanandani. Welcome back to the continuation of Living Well. So let's have a small recap of what we learned in the previous video before getting into today's class. So what did we learn? We learned about the biological nomenclature. What are the basic set of rules? There are some 5-6 rules. The name should be non-repetitive and it should have two components, the generic name, specific epithet. When you are writing them, they must be written separately and underlined separately, or when typed they must be italicized. Next, it should either be Latin origin or should be Latinized. Why Latin? In order to avoid the conflict about the scientists, they used a dead language which is not used currently for communicating. And then the author's abbreviated name is written at the end. It is not underlined, it is not italicized. The first letter is written in capital with the full stop at the top. It should be abbreviated. So these are the basic criteria, and the generic name should be written with the first letter capital and the specific epithet should be written with the first name small. So these are very basic ideologies or very basic concepts that we studied yesterday. So today we will be looking at taxonomy. This is systematics. So we will understand what is taxonomy, we will understand what is systematics. We will learn both, okay, we will learn both. Since it is nearly impossible to study all living organisms. So what did I tell you before? 1.7 to 1.8 million plus counting. Okay, there is so much living organism and it is necessary to devise some means to make this possible. So to study them, this process is called classification. By classification, what can we do? We can easily understand, we can easily study what is around us, what kind of plant is that. By establishing a set of classification, it is easy for us to use them also in the future. So classification is very important. Classification is a process by which anything is grouped into convenient categories, convenient based on for us. So maybe if I am the classifying person, I will be classifying based on what is important for me, what is not important for me. Okay, we will be classifying like that only. So based on the convenience of the classifier or the convenience of the person who will be using the classification, this will be taken, because there are several ways you can classify things based on their color, based on their size, based on their application. So what is important for you will be the criteria that you will be setting for classification based on some easily. So how is that criteria? Easily observable. So easily seeing characters that is around us. For example, we easily recognize groups such as plants or animal or dogs, cats or insects. So if I give you a plant and a cat, you can easily say this is plant, this is cat, this is an animal, this is not an animal. You can easily say, because it is based on very easy observable characteristics and I am not giving you any more difficulties here. The moment we use any of these terms, we associate certain characteristics. Immediately when I say plant, what will be thinking? A green structure with its branches wide around, widespread, and leaves everywhere, flowers, fruits, you will imagine that. When I say dog, will you imagine what that I told for plant? You will not imagine green leafy structure around them. You will imagine maybe a cute puppy which is black and white, or maybe brown, or maybe some other color with its tail wagging. You will imagine that. When I say plant, you will not imagine this, because you have those characters being set in your mind. So you will never think opposite. That's what I am telling you. What image do you see when you think of a dog? Obviously, each one of us will see dogs and not cat. When I say dog, of course you will think of dog and never about cat. Now if you were to think of Alsatians, it's a kind of a dog. We know what we are talking about. Similarly, suppose we were to say mammals. You would of course think of animals with external ears. Don't worry if you don't get these terminologies, because you will study in depth in animal kingdom. Okay. So just now for you understand, when I say mammals, it is a very unique feature that mammals have external ear. What is this? The pin I am holding, this is external ear. No other animal holds this kind of external ear. So that is a remarkable property of the class mammals. Next is the body hair. So they have hairy body. That is also a unique character that is being confined to mammals. And they have mammary glands, of course it is a unique character. So there will be certain set of characters that is very, very important for that group to have. If that doesn't have, we move it to some other group. Likewise, in plants, if you try to talk of wheat, the picture in each of our minds will be of wheat plants, not of rice or not any plant. Of course, when I say wheat, you will imagine the brown grains or brown seeds And when I say rice, you'll think of the white color, the food, white rice that is used for food and all those things. You will not think vice versa. That will never ever happen. Okay. Now we'll move to the next thing. So basically what are they trying to say? When I say something, you have certain set of characters and that will be syncing to that. That's what the basic ideology. They are trying to convey that. Okay. The picture in each of our minds. No. Hence, all these dogs, cats, mammals, wheat, rice, plants, animals, etc. are convenient categories we use to study organisms. So these are all for our convenience. Okay, to understand them, to study them. So maybe if you want to, you don't know what breed of dog you want, but you want to pet a dog. So you will go to a shop where they keep dogs. Okay. And then same applies for cat. So maybe you do not know what are the classification under cat, but you know cats and you know the qualification and you want one such organism at your home. So you go to the cat shop and not a dog shop. Okay. So these are like convenient categories or convenience of us, we are classifying them. We used to study organisms. The scientific name for these categories is taxa. So when I say wheat, I am talking about a taxa. Okay, they will be selling taxas like shelf. Okay, whatever it is shelf. When you keep books, we call it bookshelf. When you keep some other thing, we call it that shelf houses this kind of material, maybe dresses, maybe papers, or maybe some other things. So based on the things we keep, the terminology that we use associated with it may change, but it's still a shelf. Similarly here, when I say wheat, we are talking about a taxa. So when I say animals, it talks about a particular taxa. When I talk about mammals, of course it talks about a particular taxa. Dogs, again taxa. But the taxa are at different levels, so different hierarchy that is they are being following. The scientific name for these categories is taxa. Here you must recognize that taxa can indicate categories at different levels. Okay, so I am drawing a very empty box. So this is also box and this is also box, this is also box. So what they are trying to do is they are terming all these boxes as taxa, so that you don't get confused. So all these boxes are taxa and you fit into some material into this and their level completely changes. Okay. So based on what you place in this level, the level changes, but still it is known as taxa. Okay. But you know that a dog is a mammal. Okay. So I am writing dog here. Dog is what? Mammal. So this is taxa, but this is a lower taxa, this is higher taxa. And mammals are animals. Mammal, animal. So understand, all these red boxes are taxa. This is a lower taxa, this is higher taxa, this is highest taxa. Therefore, animals, mammals and dogs represent taxa at different levels. Interesting, right? Hence, based on characteristics, all living organisms can be classified into different taxa. So based on their similarities, differences, we can put them in different taxa and make them convenient for us to understand and study. This process of classification is known as taxonomy. So just split it, taxa. This is like studying or understanding. Okay. Studying taxa is known as taxonomy. So when you study about these levels, you are basically doing taxonomy. External, what we call external structure as morphology. Remember this? Morphology is the external structure, the one that you see with your naked eye. This is external structure. Then internal structure is anatomy. that is internal structure, along with the structure of cell, development process, how they develop, how the cells divide, how they acquire characteristics based on that, and ecological information of organism, in which kind of habitat do they live, what are the adaptation strategies they have. So based on this are essential and form the basis of modern taxonomic studies. So nowadays when you say taxonomic studies, they are not based on 2-3 characters, just 2 or 3 characters. They will be based on several characters like external, internal structure, structure of cell, development process, ecological studies. So all these comprises the modern taxonomic studies. Hence characterization. What is characterization? Simply like description. Like you say this has green leaves and yellow fruits, pink flowers, taproot system, brown bark, all those things are like characterization. You are just describing the characters and you are identifying that to a particular name. So this belongs to that. In case it does not have a name, what you do? You classify, you put them in a position where they belong to, okay, and then finally you give it a name. So I would say characterization, identification, classification, nomenclature. So what you do? We basically describe and then you identify that this description fits into this plant and you try to classify, put them in a bigger picture, and after that you may name them, and that is nomenclature. Are the process that are basic to taxonomy. So taxonomy basically deals with all these stuffs. What are they dealing with? Characterization, identification, classification, nomenclature. Come again. Characterization, identification, classification and nomenclature. These are very, very important to taxonomy. Taxonomy is not something new, so it doesn't come out of blue, it doesn't come new. Human beings have always been interested in knowing more and more about various kinds of organisms. We are constantly struggling, we are constantly waiting to learn more and more about organisms, particularly with reference to their own use, only for our comfort, only for our convenience, whether this can be used as food or not, whether this can be used for shelter or not, okay, only for our convenience we are classifying. In early days, human beings needed to find sources for their best needs of food, clothing and shelter. Okay, just give me a minute. Yeah. So taxonomy is taxonomy is not something new. I have told you, with reference to their own use. In early days, human beings were trying to find best needs or best source of food, clothing. They were trying to find food, clothing and shelter. Hence, the earliest classification is based on the uses, whether it is useful or not. If it is useful, whether it is useful for a long term or only a short term. So based on that, they are trying to classify. Human beings were since long not only interested in knowing more about different kind of organism and the diversity, but also about relationship. What do I say? Let's keep example. So sometime a random guy you meet on a train or bus. So you are trying to talk with each other and you get to know you both are from same place. Then what do you know? You will be asking, do you know that person? Do you know this person? I was related to him in this way. He was my brother, he was my sister. You just try to understand whether that person is connected to you. So basically it's that it is present within ourselves, within our nature. Okay. So what do? We try to connect, and same thing is what taxonomists try to do. And when taxonomists try to do, we are giving a new name, systematics. What does taxonomists do? Just 4 words, come again. Characterization, identification, classification. Just one more, come on, nomenclature. Along with it, if you are ready to study their evolutionary relationship, and now the terminology turns to systematics. The word systematics is derived from Latin word. What does that mean? Systema, which means systematic arrangement of organism. So in taxonomy, didn't you arrange it in systematic form? Were you just placing them randomly? No. In taxonomy, we are arranging them based on some criteria, but here we are using their evolutionary relationship as the criteria, simple as that. Here also you will be characterizing, identifying, classifying, nomenclature, but on the basis of this evolutionary relationship. So, the difference between taxonomy and systematics should be very clear. Systematics takes in account evolutionary relationship and does everything that taxonomy does. Taxonomy doesn't take into account of the evolutionary relationship. I hope you are clear, very clear with this. Okay. Now what are we going to do? We will complete taxonomy versus systematics with these 3 lines above. Used systema naturae. So, just now we obtained that this word systema is obtained from Latin, which means systematic arrangement. So, he also uses his used systema naturae as the title of his publication. The scope of systematics were later enlarged to include identification, nomenclature and classification. Oh ma'am, they have not mentioned characterization here. So, does that mean they do not characterize? That is not possible. You cannot classify a plant or animal without understanding its description, without knowing what are the features they have. So, though they are not given implicitly here, it does mean that yes, description has to come up, classification, nomenclature and also this evolutionary relationship has to come here. So, systematics takes into account the evolutionary relationship between organisms, damn important. Okay. So, in this video we have tried to cover what is basically taxonomy. Taxonomy is simply the study of taxa. When I say taxa, they are like empty boxes, you can put anything in and you can change their level. So, based on the component you fill in, its level gets changed. Okay. So, study of these type of taxa is known as taxonomy. Basically, they do 4 different important things in taxonomy. They try to characterize, identify, classify and they try to give names. And a new branch has come, which means systematics. So, this systematics has origin from Latin word systema, meaning systematic arrangement. What is its basic criteria? Can you recollect? It is the evolutionary relationship. So, it also does everything that a taxonomist do along with evolutionary relationship. I hope you understood today's video on taxonomy and you are able to distinguish it from systematics. So, leave a thumbs up sign in the comment section if you are getting understanding what I am telling you. Thank you for watching. Happy learning. See you in the next video.